We need to talk about the gatekeeping that happens within classical studies because I feel like it's counterintuitive to keeping classics alive. I first need to acknowledge that I understand part of where this is coming from. It is protectiveness. We are the dodo birds of academia as classics majors. Not a lot of people go to our department, and not a lot of people finish in our department. I know, at least with my graduating class, there was five, six people that graduated with the classics department, and then a couple people that were graduating with classics degrees but chose to walk with their other departments. That's how small we are. And I've seen examples of Latin and Greek getting cut in my real life because I went to a public high school that happened to have Latin as a second language. But then 2 years after I graduated, they basically forced the teacher into retirement because it was hard to get those students to go on to third and fourth year Latin. It was even getting hard to get them to go into second year Latin because Latin is a very hard language to learn, especially when you're comparing it to French or Spanish, which people usually choose as their second language in high school. Because of my life experiences, I had to step away from classics after getting my bachelor's degree. I had originally intended to become a professor, but I had a baby in college, and so I had to enter the workforce. I had to be making enough money that I could support me and my husband while he was going to chiropractic college. And then I got chronically ill, and I couldn't do anything for a while, so I wasn't even translating for years and just started getting back into mythology recently. But I feel like that time away has given me perspective I needed because as a classicist, I used to be one of those people who, when I would see sexual assault survivors talking about Medusa, felt the need to immediately correct them and be like, that's not Hesiod's version. In Ovid's version, it's a punishment, it's not a gift, blah, 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 right? But stepping away and having to deal with my own human experiences and emotion and looking inward at myself, I was able to see that these people are also looking at themselves when they see this myth. And so when I started making Greek mythology content here to try to get back into it, and I had so many people asking me to do a Medusa video, I decided to go to two different sexual assault survivors in my life that I was very close to at the time and ask them, why is it that people align with this modern take of Medusa so much? And it turns out it's because when you've had your autonomy taken from you, the idea that people can't even look at you anymore without your permission is freeing. It makes you feel safe. You would actually feel like you can step outside again after sexual assault if you had that gift. And for me, that is so much more valuable than saying Hesiod is the most correct version, Ovid was just writing politically, blah, 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 whatever it may be, right? Because on some level, people saw themselves in this. And me telling them, you aren't allowed to believe this, is just another person telling them that their experiences aren't valid. And I don't want to be that person saying your sexual assault isn't valid. One thing I've come to realize is that the way to get more people into classics long enough to learn the languages and major in it and keep our departments going is by telling them these fun little stories that make them want to seek out source material, make them want to learn to translate it when we talk about the fun words that are used or the literary devices or the way that the word order makes it so interesting because we have these inflected endings where they can change the word order in a sentence and it still means the same thing. They're never going to get to that point if we just tell them wrong, 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 wrong. One of the reasons that I choose to talk about mythology stories in the way that I do in order to perpetuate classics and get more people interested is because I recognize the languages are hard. It's hard to get people interested enough to stick with them. So if we talk about these stories, we talk about some of the interesting things in the original language, maybe, just maybe somebody's going to want to take that Latin class. And that is more valuable to me than, oh my gosh, how could you like this version of Medusa where she's a sexual assault survivor? How dare you? Like, it's not important. What's important is we get people back, butts in seats in classics departments so they stop cutting us, so we stop losing funding, and so our literature doesn't die anymore. Final point I want to make is that I am someone who ran to Greek mythology because I was running from Christianity. And I was running from Christianity because I lived in a very religiously controlling household. But when it comes to studying these Greek and Roman myths, it was a safe way for me to explore outside Christianity while still under my mom's thumb. And for me, because it was running from Christianity, I don't like to apply some of these same Christian ideals to how I interact with literature around the gods. I don't like to think that there is a canon because there's not exactly a Bible when it comes to these gods. They were worshipped for thousands of years and continue to still be worshipped. And I think that worship should evolve, unlike Christianity, which I ran from because it didn't evolve with the culture. I also don't like this idea that we are telling people their worship could be wrong when we don't fully know everything about how people worshiped. And it's not like some of the people that are so pedantic about Hellenismos right now are out there sacrificing bulls, okay? So I think we need to check ourselves because this is leading with vinegar and not honey type of stuff, you know? And I'm just going to tack this on at the end because I'm still laughing about it. One of the people who accused me and my friend Shannon of being sacrilegious for being critical of the gods in the works that we read had their profile picture and their TikTok existence as Pyrrhus or Neoptolemus from mythology, who literally desecrated a temple during the sacking of Troy. You guys need to get a grip because I feel like you also do things that the gods would not be proud of when you are doing this. So take a step back, take a breather. If you don't like something, scroll past it. It's what I do with you epic people, okay?